How's everybody doing? Today we're joined by Gary White, who's the manager of Nation of Guam. He's turned the island of Guam into a remarkable football story with his vision, determination, and persistence. This island is now 115th in FIFA, which is the highest ever, and now they're considered the top 30 teams in Asia. Mr. White, my friend, thank you for coming on Goal Bazan. How are you doing, sir?
Doing very well, Pasha. Thanks for inviting me on.
No problem. My first question to you is, Mr. White, how did this beautiful story between you and Guam happen?
I was working in Seattle, and one of the executives asked me to meet with the Guam Football Association president, Mr. Richard Lai, who was looking for an English-speaking coach. And with my past experience prior to going to Seattle, I worked at two other national teams, and they thought I'd be a good person for them to speak to about giving some advice on what to look for in terms of a national coach.
So my next question to you is looking at Guam's old days till now, what has been the key to your success? I know it's because you're getting a lot of support from FIFA, the AFC, and even Japan. Is there anything other that is getting down to your success with this nation?
Well, structurally, everything you just said is absolutely correct. FIFA, AFC, JFA have all been great supporters, as well as the government of Guam, and also the sponsors and local sponsors of Guam have all been fantastic, and that's been, down to the foresight and vision of Richard Lai, our president, and also our executive committee, Joe Cepeda and Tino Sangil, who's our technical chairman and general secretary, respectively, and the whole GFA staff. They work tirelessly trying to put programs in place that can finance the technical programs, which I'm overseeing, directing. So it's a mixture between a good structure, a good infrastructure, and then a good vision and plan. A plan and goals to achieve. And we're a very dynamic group of people. And now those results are starting to bear fruit on the field itself. When I took the job, I wanted to make sure that Guam was respected, not just from a governance standpoint, but also from a football standpoint, and we're starting to get there now.
Yeah, definitely, and especially we're going to get back touching with your two historic wins in the World Cup qualifiers. Before we get to that, one of the players that I've always been fond of living in the States has been AJ De La Garza, and I just want to know, how do you recruit your players for Guam? I know the majority of them are American, obviously, because Guam is part of the territory of the United States, but have you ever looked at try to find Guam players elsewhere, like in Europe or maybe different various places?
Well, the first thing I had to do when I took the job back in 2012, nearly 3 years ago, was I wanted to make sure we'd seen every single eligible player, and that was the question I asked the technical department, and the answer was no, and the answer still is no. As you know, Guam is an American territory. Mm-hmm. Many Guamanians will leave Guam to go and do university in the USA, and they usually settle there, and that's been happening for decades. So also we've got a massive, as you know, a military base on Guam. So there's such a transit of people that come through Guam for 2 or 3 years and have babies in Guam and then leave Guam, and they don't realize that now that player or that baby or that child is eligible. And again, that's been happening for centuries. So the one thing I had to do was try to come up with a strategic plan about, well, where are Guamanians emigrating to, and the majority of them are obviously the US. So what we wanted to do was hit those target areas where we knew Guamanians were settling in the US, and we started to look at trying to find players that were eligible. AJ De La Garza is one of those guys. He's a player that we knew about before, as I arrived in Guam, but it was a very difficult process because at the time he was actually with the US national team. And we had to, slowly encourage him and sell him the vision of what we're trying to do. And the same with Ryan Guy, who was playing at the New England Revolution. And it was just a question of going out and meeting him and selling your vision. And I'm a very difficult person to say no to when I get in front of you.
Looking at a lot of the players that we've just seen and coming off those two historic wins, your players are very ambitious, and you're a very ambitious man. What is your philosophy to get these players to the next level, to become more recognizable? Because this has been a remarkable story, building this structure and planning this season, building upon it. What is your philosophy in football?
Well, everything we've done in the past 3 years and even before that. But when I took over, in 2012, it was a question of setting some goals. And everything we're doing is not by default. It is actually by design. It sounds arrogant, but it's a fact. We spent a lot of time and effort on planning exactly where we wanted to be prior to these World Cup qualifiers. And we are exactly where we expected to be. So, it's all been very well planned. It's been strategic. I've had the support from my federation. And the philosophy is to take the program as far as we can. How much can we really achieve, and can we get the maximum potential from the resources that we've got? And we're starting to see that. The philosophy is always positive. It's always belief in themselves, the players, and the program. And the sky's the limit. My philosophy in life is. Really, you can have anything you want as long as you set your mind to it. And,
correct.
We've put that into place throughout the program. So our philosophy is very positive. It's very direct. It's very narrow. We know exactly what we want, and we have a good idea how we're going to get there. And we're starting to do that.
I've been touching base on the historic Cup 2 wins that you've had. What does this mean for your team, and how confident are you guys to advance to the next round?
We're taking one game at a time. We're not stupid enough to start thinking we're going to win the World Cup at this point. Our goal is to qualify just like everyone else's goal that goes into the competition in the second round. But we're taking one game at a time. The 2 wins were a fantastic start and thoroughly deserved. Sometimes a 1-0 scoreline or a 2-1 scoreline. You're not sure about how that game went on, but if you watch the games, we thoroughly deserve those points. We played fantastic. I'm very happy about how we got those wins. Not just the results, but how we applied ourselves and how the players followed the instructions from a strategic and tactical standpoint. And just in their passion and desire. And it was a fantastic start for us, especially at home in front of our home crowd. It was a sellout stadium. It was the biggest event ever in Guam from a sports perspective, and we've really captured the attention of the world. But now we start to plan for Iran.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I was gonna get onto. Your next upcoming match against my country, Iran, in September, which will be held at Azadi Stadium. What do you know about Iran, and which Iranian players do you think will be a threat to your team?
Well, I don't want to name certain players, but if it's a star-studded squad that you've got. It's deep. It's got experience. You're the best team in Asia, as you can just see in the recent FIFA rankings. You've gone up again to number 38. So we know it's going to be a difficult challenge, but it's a challenge that we want. It's a challenge that we set up, that we wanted to be top of the group going into this Iranian game, so your fans take us serious and come out and create even a better atmosphere for us to develop. 100,000+ people in the stadium is what we wanted, and we knew that was part of the goal as well. That if we didn't win the first 2 games, maybe this game wouldn't be such a big game for the Iranian fans. So we hope they come out. We hope they fill the stadium, because that's just the next step in our development. We don't fear that environment. We actually encourage it. But in terms of the Iranian team, you've got so many good players, you've got so much depth, so much experience, and it's really going to be a massive challenge for us, but also a good measuring stick to see where we are and what we need to improve on to battle against the Giants.
Definitely, that's what we're just kind of talking. It's usually intimidating and a daunting task to play against Iran in Azadi Stadium. Usually, approximately 100,000 fans come about. Has there ever been any of your players felt that atmosphere, having that amount of capacity going into it? I know you talk about it's an encouraging sign. Has there been? Is the majority of your players haven't had that experience? Have they?
No, the majority of our players have never had that experience. Obviously AJ and some other
Yes.
players have played in some big games, big crowds, but never in a World Cup qualification. Never with so much on the line. The pressure is totally on the Iranians. They need the points.
Yeah.
Obviously, we need the points too. But we're on 6 points. They're currently on 1 point. So we hope that pressure will tell on the Iranian team and the Iranian staff and the Iranian fans. And we're just going to go about our job and our strategy, and we're going to try to irritate and spoil that party that maybe you think you're going to have come September 3rd. So we're good at playing the underdog, but I'm sure Carlos and his staff are not naive enough to take us lightly anymore. It's not the same team that played there back in the early 2000s. It's a completely different mindset. We're very positive, very confident, and we're looking forward to it, Pasha. We're looking forward to the challenge.
Definitely, you just touched about Carlos Queiroz, and Carlos Queiroz has been a huge figure in Iranian football. These days, a lot of our fans, usually Iranians are really passionate, and he's one of the big idols right now in Iran. What do you think about Carlos Queiroz as a person, as a coach, Mr. White?
Well, you got to have respect for the man and the coach. I mean, he's got a fabulous career. He's somebody that I obviously look up to as a younger coach that's coming through. We do have some friends that we both know and have spent time with Carlos. So I've had some background on him from some of his close friends, and I'm looking forward to meeting him. And I'm going to be honoured to share the touchline with such an impactful coach in world football. And I hope I can learn something from that experience.
Definitely, I appreciate you coming on, Mr. White, a lot. And my final question to you, sir, is that, if there's been talks, I've heard you talk before that maybe after Guam you might be trying to coach a club in Japan or elsewhere. But if you ever step aside from this remarkable story, where do you see Guam in the next decade?
Well, I think hopefully we're setting sustainability within the program. We've launched a national academy 3 years ago when I first came in. That is blossoming. So the future of elite development is in good hands, and there's good plans to continue that. The infrastructure of Guam is strong. Great leadership from the president and Mr. Lai and the rest of the executives. So it's in a good position, and I hope that they continue to develop in 10 years from now, our goal was to be a top 5 nation in East Asia, from top to bottom. And, we've really started to achieve that goal a lot earlier than planned. So I expect Guam 10 years from today to be in a very healthy position and keep competing and developing players to get scholarships through soccer, professional contracts through soccer. And, it's in a very healthy position, and I think in 10 years it will continue to be that way.
Mr. Dwight, I really appreciate you coming on Gold Business and talking about your experiences with Guam and sharing us this remarkable story that you've built upon, which is fabulous by itself. And I'm looking forward to the match and definitely hopefully talk about the match afterwards. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem, Pasha. All the best, and we look forward to speaking again.
Definitely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.